here already.
Hey, hello.
Hello, everyone. So I guess for the people watching this back, because there's one person here, so everybody won't get this message, but there are no live comments. We just want to have a conversation with you, and you can come back after and put comments under the live.
Yes.
But there are no live comments open, so you don't need to email us or anything. We know it's intentional.
Right.
Right. Yay!
Hey.
So, okay. Oh, we got two watchers. So, do we want to give everybody a minute or do we just want to get it going?
We could just get it going. I think, yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, Ange and I wanted to open up a conversation about support of someone who's grieving when there's a loss of a spiritual leader and the support and the space that you want to hold for that person. I think we are so, we're everybody's not aligned with the same person. Everybody's not one religion. We're all different
Yeah.
people. But when one of us loses somebody, I think it's a good thing for our friends to give us a little bit of empathy. And that doesn't always happen. People don't know what to say, or people just clam up like, well, I don't know what to say, so I'm just not going to. But you need to hold space for people because people just have so many emotions, and you don't have to know, you don't have to understand. You just need to say, I'm here for you. I don't understand, but I know that you're hurting.
Mm,
And what can I do? What can I do?
mhm,
But don't just be unempathetic because you don't understand or you don't align with the same religion or beliefs. It's not even
mm,
about that. It's about being there for a friend who has lost someone, whether it be a pet
yeah.
or a person, a thing, whatever it is. You want to show your compassion and empathy towards that person. And that really, really helps. So we decided that on the death of Pope Francis on Monday morning, that I was so emotional
Yeah.
and I felt like some people just didn't get it and didn't understand. And Ange wanted to hold that space for me. So that's why we decided to come together today and do this.
Yeah, Lexi, thank you so much for having me. Yes, if anyone's
Yes.
watching and you don't know who I am, my name's Ange of Roots and Waves channel here on YouTube. My link is below. But thank you so much, Lexi, for inviting me to have this conversation. You know, when I heard the news on Monday about the Pope passing, I heard it from you actually, because I woke up and I was getting ready for work and I clicked on my phone and I thought, oh my
Yes.
goodness. And this whole conversation that we're going to have today, why we're sharing it publicly, is because I think it's important to sort of look at the different dynamics of how we can support people through grief, even when we don't sort of align with the same beliefs or faiths, or we don't pray to the same person, things of that nature, right?
Yes.
So yes, this is based on the death of Pope Francis on Monday, but this could be taken into any account, right, going forward in terms of how you can support a good friend through grief when you don't fully understand the grief they're going through. Um, because grief is universal, right? We all grieve. It is a thing, right? I mean, even the animal kingdom. I mean, we are part of the animal
Yes.
kingdom, but even the animal
Yes.
kingdom grieves. And so I think it's important that we understand, what holding space even means, what it looks like. And like I said, Monday morning when I found out, my initial reaction, of course, when I find out anyone passes away is like, oh no, like that's sad. I kind of felt like, but Lexi's reaction to it would have been different because, she is, um, like directly aligned with the church, with the faith, right? Now, having said that, I was born and raised Catholic, so I have strands that are still connected to that,
Yes.
right? Like I very much still embrace like Jesus energy, Mary energy, things of that
Yes.
nature. But I would definitely not call myself like a Christian, or I don't go to church. I definitely haven't followed the Pope in many, many years, but that doesn't mean that I don't have respect for not only that religion, but the people who follow the religion, right? So That's that's what we wanna talk about today is, you know, I know that there's a lot of people out there with a lot of different opinions, about all different walks, of life in terms of people's faith and beliefs, right? But grief, for me, doesn't have any place for prejudice or bias, when it comes to that. I think that when someone's grieving, regardless, I mean, maybe somebody had a pet snake and the pet snake died, and you're like, "Ooh, I hate snakes." Well, but that person's still grieving, right? You know what I'm trying to
Exactly.
say? I'm not. I'm not comparing the Pope to a snake.
No, of
That was
course
probably
not.
that was probably a bad analogy. I'm sorry. I just meant that. Oh God, I just meant that. Any other analogy, Aunt, really? Adam and Eve coming for me now. Oh
Right,
my
right. That's
gosh.
okay. That's okay. It's
But
all a part of life, right?
but I just meant that we don't always have to understand people's grief in order to just be there for them and hold space for them. So, when I saw Lexi's live on Monday, because she gone live and she was quite vulnerable in her grief, and I really appreciate that. Um, because then we as a community understood, like, oh, like, she needs us there for her, right? Because that's the thing, like, we are not meant to grieve in isolation, right? We are meant to grieve
Right.
in community. I mean, certainly
Yes.
there are private moments of grief, absolutely, but as
Yes.
a whole, no, like, we're not meant to grieve in isolation. Wouldn't you say so,
Yes, I
Lexi?
would. Exactly. We're not. We want to be with people, and I know that after just, this recent loss of losing my mom,
Mm,
you tend to people don't know what to say. So they end up like getting away from you, as fast as they can. They don't know what
yeah.
to say. They don't know, well, God, if they say something to you and you start crying, what are they going to do? And but I think, and I'm going to read something to you, the
Oh,
meaning of holding space.
yeah, yeah.
Holding space is being present and supportive for someone,
Mhm.
allowing them to fully experience their emotions and thoughts without judgment or interruption, creating a safe and validating environment. Hang on, folks.
Mhm.
Ziggy, stop. It's 3:33, by the way.
Hey, 333.
333. So holding that space, it's therapeutic, and it's uh it's a way for us really to connect without judgment. Without judgment. Like you said, somebody's pet dies, their pet snake, their pet dog. These are our children.
Mhm.
Our pets are our family and our children. So, of course, we would be empathetic to someone. And there are so many people that don't get that and they just, poo poo that whole thing. But you have to take in account of someone else's feelings.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
for
that's the
sure.
true meaning of holding space, taking account of somebody else's feelings, not your own. You don't
Exactly.
understand, but you're there. You're there. And so many of us are not. We're not in that headspace. We don't have that. But Ange and I are both water babies. We cry at the drop of a hat for anything.
Yes, yes, we do. Yes, we do.
So I mean, I'm emotional anyway. I see somebody's video and something's going on, and I'm here crying, or I'm crying on a commercial on TV. I mean, that's just the way it is. But I always want to hold space for my friends and people around me when they're going through something, a loss or anything else. But I
Yes.
noticed on Monday, it was hard for people. So many people were, really saying they were sorry, offering prayers and things like that. But other people were just like, well, well, it's just another day. Okay, well, he's just the Pope type of thing. Well, he was a human being and he was someone who was really trying hard. Whatever a lot of people have so many triggers and things about the Catholic Church or the church in general as a whole.
Mm. Yeah, that's true.
And especially us in the spiritual community that we're in. Wouldn't you think? I mean, we're in this
Yeah.
community, yeah, where we are, we're doing our tarot and our oracle and trying to do things for make people feel good. But we still, like you said, you still have that Jesus Mary. I do too. That's in me, forever in
Mhm.
me. No matter what I do, I
Right,
always pray to a higher power. The first power, in my mind always was God.
right.
Now, I pray to the divine spirit, and in my mind, that's a she. God could be anybody. It doesn't
Mhm.
necessarily, it's under the connotation that God is a man, but God could be anyone. And I know so many people have a hang up about that, with the whole uh divine feminine and that type of thing, but it's whatever you make it. And you can't
Right.
be mad at anybody else for what they believe or how they say it or how they interpret, because we
No.
all have our own interpretation. The Bible is, we all read it in a different way, and it's all interpreted in a different
Mhm.
way. Just how we read our tarot cards and our oracle cards. Ange and I won't see the cards the same way. We have
Mhm.
our intuition and what brings forward for us, what that means to us. It may not be the same meaning,
Right.
and that's okay.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Because
Yeah.
you bring your intuition, you bring your own life experiences into it, and that's what makes
Yes.
everybody like a unique reader, you know?
Yes.
Um, and just to circle back to the holding space piece, it's it like Lexi said, it is about being present. And I think also we have to understand like really it is active listening without the desire, the need to fix something, right?
Yes.
Um
Yes.
because a lot of people want to either give one, they want to give unsolicited advice of what you should do or how you should feel or how you should act or how you should grieve. We don't want to do that, okay? And then another thing too is spiritual bypassing, and what that means is you mean well when you say certain things, such as like, oh, he's in a better place now, at least he lived a full life. But those things are actually harmful and hurtful to say to somebody when they're grieving, because what you're doing is you're dismissing their grief. And
Yes.
we just have to be mindful with our words, in terms of when someone's grieving. And my advice would be just like, I don't want to say don't say anything, but just keep your words to a minimum and just listen. And then just ask
Yes.
the person what they need, because everyone is going
Yes.
to be different in terms of what they need. I just want you to listen, or could you light a candle for me?
Yes.
And this is going to kind of get into what I did for Lexi without her asking, because I just felt like I wanted to hold space for my dear friend in a way that would be meaningful to her. And, as soon as I saw how upset she was, I thought, oh gosh, I'm gonna make a video for her, like a private video. I'm just gonna click record. I'm gonna go outside in nature. I'm just gonna
Yes.
let her know I care about her and I'm here for her. What can I do for you? So as I was filming the video on Monday when the Pope died, right?
Hmm.
I'm filming and I'm talking and the birds are, singing in the trees, and on all of a sudden something caught the corner of my eye. And I kinda looked, and so no birds were flying around in the sky, nothing like that, okay? The birds were just in the trees doing their thing, and out of nowhere came this little white feather, and it just sort of right down at my feet, and I thought, "What?"
Right.
Like, okay. I mean, like, just because, like, I didn't, sort of, like, worship or pray or sort of follow the Pope doesn't mean that I don't believe in the higher power. I'm just saying, right? So I was like, "Whoa." Okay, so I took that as a sign, and in like, Lexi's my witness because in the video,
Yes.
it happened, and I picked up the feather and I showed it to her right in the den.
Yes.
And as soon as I did, I had this feeling rush over me, like, "Go inside, light a candle for Lexi, and pull some cards for her." And I was like, "Whoa. Yeah,
Yes.
of
Yes.
course." So, that is sort of like, in a way that you can do, like, a little ritual for someone. Somebody might not know what they need, right? But, I mean, I don't think there's a harm in lighting a candle and maybe pulling a few cards for someone if
No.
they're, okay with that. So that is something that we can do in terms of holding space and
Yes.
sort of giving our just giving someone comfort when maybe you don't know what to say. That's sort of a gesture that you could do. Lighting a candle doesn't really take much, right?
No,
um
exactly.
so I'm going to show you the little feather because I did save it. I
Yes,
did.
I know.
I did. And I'm telling you, this little feather, man, it wanted to get away from me so many different times last night. I was like, you better not go away. So here is a little feather.
Yes, the little white feather that flew down from the sky, and as she was looking, and I'm like, "What happened? What's happening?"
Yeah.
Look at
Yes.
that, though. What a sign that is, right? What a sign.
Yeah. So that was very special. And I thought, whoa, okay. So Then I thought I went to my bookshelf, and anybody that knows me, I got a lot of decks. So I was like, well, I don't know, like what deck do I choose, you know? And then of course I had the Christ consciousness
Yes.
come out, because
Yes.
remember, like I said, even though I don't like go to church and I don't subscribe to a particular religion, Christ consciousness is very much in alignment with how I try to live my life. So I was like, okay, so let's go ahead and pull a card. So the first card I pulled was for the collective. I was thinking, okay,
Mhm.
if I tap into so the Pope energy and to the,
Yes.
what message wants to come out around this grief, this time. And we had this beautiful card come out called Wisdom Bringer Earth School. And I thought, okay, well, how perfect is this?
Yes.
When it's kind of like, from birth to death, from death to birth, it's like the full cycle right here on earth. Um, and this it goes into detail. Of course, I won't read the whole thing because it will be here for a while, but basically it's just saying, um we come here, we incarnate into this pure spirit, right? And we get we acquire the soul knowledge while we're here,
Mhm.
and then we journey back to remembering who we truly are into spirit, right? And that's pretty much there's a lot more that it says about the card, but that's pretty much the gist of it. And then I went on to pull Lexi a card because yeah, I wanted to do that for her, and I had Paul come up, and this is awakening and transformation. Yes. And
Yes.
and I read out the whole thing to Lexi of her
Mhm.
personal message, and basically it was just holding space for her in a bunch of different transformations that she's going through currently in her life, and how encouraging um her to just keep going with
Yes.
all that's going on. And so anyway, it was really fitting. And of course, I pulled one for myself, and I pulled the Jesus card. Jesus came out for me. It was
Yes.
um and I thought that that was cool too. So, yeah, it all weaved together, and it was important to me to do something for her. Even though I'm like, wow, maybe I'm not sharing the same level of grief about the Pope, but
Mhm.
that doesn't
Mhm.
dismiss someone else's feelings and grief, right? I guess that's the whole point of this
Yes.
conversation, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And
Um
I didn't mean to cut you off. Oh, also, I wanted to say to the 6 viewers that we have right now, there
Hey.
are no comments on this live. We thank you all for being here, but because we're having this discussion today, we didn't want to be interrupted or distracted. So you can leave comments when the video goes public. You can definitely leave your comments. Just hold your thoughts, leave your comments, but there's no live comments. So don't think forgot to turn them on or anything. No, we did that purposely.
Yeah. Yeah, we kinda well, because we are trying to think of, like, how to record this, and we thought, "Oh, we'll just go live and turn off the comments," but we really would like, or, this is Lexi's channel, but, if you could please, like, in the comments below, add
Yes.
to the conversation. How is it that you hold space for others? Or do you wanna learn more about this? What are your thoughts on this subject? And there was a journal prompt that had come up that I wanted to share too. It's how do I react when someone else's beliefs make me uncomfortable?
Mhm.
That's a good one,
That's
right?
a
Because
very
you're like,
good one.
oh, because there's a lot of, I mean, we all know, like, what
Yes.
has happened in the Catholic churches and stuff like this. And,
Yes.
and so
Yes.
there's some there's a lot of hurt, of course, around this and things like that. But with all that said, though, it doesn't dismiss someone's grief when that is the leader that they looked up to. And actually, I have something written down here. It says, acknowledge that spiritual leaders can feel like family, mentors, or anchors, even if they're not personally known. So in other words, some people might just say, oh yeah, it was just a pope, but to someone else it's like, well, hang on a minute. That was
Right.
somebody that I looked up to, that was somebody I respected. And
Yes.
I also feel, and correct me if I'm wrong, Lexi, but I feel like as well, like the pope, also for you, had like these family ties back to mom, right? Because your mom
Yes.
was a devotee, like, in terms of,
Yes, she was. She was
right,
very devout Catholic, and
right,
she was so happy when this pope was named pope.
right.
And we both were, because we did not align with the previous pope, Pope Benedict, who stepped down and was one of the first popes to ever do that. Because when
Right.
you get in this position, you're in this position until the day you die.
Right.
And he stepped down, and it was a good thing because he wasn't bringing the church forward. And he really, in my opinion, refused to say he was sorry that, things happened. And when we got
Yeah.
Pope Francis, that was a bright light in this community because he really wanted to make amends. He wanted to make everybody equal because we're all equal under the creator, under God, under whoever you align with. We're all human and we're all different, and we all deserve love, and we all, if we are a believer, deserve to be a part of that community and not excommunicated because of our beliefs or
Yes.
because who uh who we identify as, who we love, and all those
Right.
things. And
Right.
he came in and he said, you believe in God, who am I to judge you?
Hmm. Right.
So yes, if you're a lesbian, transgender, whatever you are, whatever is you identify as, we love you because we are a
Hmm.
community of believers.
Hmm.
And that was something that really touched me. And he came out, like, especially to your country and other places and here in the US, to say he was sorry for everything that the Catholic Church did to the indigenous people and different things. And a lot of people maybe didn't take his apology, but he made those amends and he tried hard to do that. And he was a pope of the people. He washed the feet of people in prison, and he washed the feet of the homeless, the
Hmm.
unhoused people, and people who are less marginalized. Those were the people that he wanted to make them feel like they belonged and they were included. And
Yeah.
that is something that I really, truly loved about him. And I really hope that the next person that they choose, that the conclave chooses, will be, we have a little portion of mourning, so that won't go into effect, I think, until May 5th, maybe,
Mm.
or so, when the conclave gets together and then they decide who they're going to choose. And I really hope that
Mm.
somebody comes forward who is going to continue the good works that
Yeah.
Pope Francis has done
Hmm.
in bringing the Catholic people together and the nation together as a whole.
Right.
As a whole.
Yes, that is so
Mhm.
important. And it just goes to show that, like, grief, it can transcend belief systems.
Yes.
That's how powerful, right? That's and
Yes.
and it's yeah, yeah. I made a few notes. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything here. Yeah, you can offer comfort without expecting them to explain their grief. That's another thing too, right? Like, someone
Yes.
might not know or fully understand, especially if something just happened. I mean, it just
Right.
happened. They don't know. There's so much
Right.
to unpack it, and you know,
Right.
um, there's a lot of memories that kind of come through, right? When we first hear that someone passes away, whether it's a spiritual leader or
Yes.
family member, things
Yes.
like that, right? Um, so you can offer simple things to someone, such as, well, what did their teachings mean to you?
Right.
Or, I'm here to witness your grief, even if I don't fully understand it.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's not about agreeing to anything, it's about witnessing. So you're witnessing someone's grief, right? You don't have to agree to anything that they believe, but I mean, holding space is again that non-judgmental place.
Yes.
And
Yes.
yeah, so I already touched on the spiritual bypassing. Don't say things like they're in a better place or everything happens for a reason. Don't say things
Right.
like that.
Don't.
Um,
Don't.
Another important thing, and it kind of ties into spiritual bypassing, is try not to compare your grief. Excuse me. Try not to compare their grief to your own spiritual path.
Yes.
Right? That's not. I mean, certainly, like, here, I shared it because there was like an inner twining of it, like, meaning, I was born and raised Catholic. I do have roots in that. Do I fully practice it now? No, but for many different religions, I definitely have threads that I pull
Mhm.
from that align with
Yes.
me specifically, right? and
Yes.
and why I was mentioning that here was definitely not to dismiss Lexi's beliefs or values. It's to show her that, um like, we're connected in that way too,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
That I don't have to follow the Pope to understand and feel with you. Um And yeah, it says let's focus and stay on the griever and not on their beliefs.
Yes.
Um, Also, it says spiritual bypassing skips over the pain to get to the lesson, and that's not holding space. That's trying to fast forward someone's grief, and that's not something
Right.
we want to do. You know,
No, not at all.
um, let people feel what they feel, even if it's messy and even if it doesn't align with your truth.
Yes.
Right? You don't have to support. Excuse me. You don't have to practice their belief system to show support. And let's see. What to do with the leader? Oh, okay. And the next thing I wanted to bring up was what do you do if the leader that they're following triggers discomfort in you? Now, this is important because it's what Lexi was just
Yes.
talking about. How
Yes.
some people, like the Catholic Church, is a trigger, and I understand that.
Yes. Yes, of
Definitely,
course.
and
Of
Lexi understands
course.
that too. But again, remember, it's not about you. It's about the person who's
Right.
grieving, right?
Right.
And so you need to make this like safe space for the person who's grieving. Now, having said that though, your feelings that triggered, they matter too. It's just that you
Yes.
don't want to bring them into the space of the person grieving because that that's gonna
Yeah, and
sort of
that's a little bit counterintuitive too at the
right.
time.
It's
Yeah,
exactly, yes.
that's not the right time for that.
Right. So
Right.
what some suggestions are that you could do then, because this is all about emotional maturity of how knowing how to
Yes.
handle this, right?
Yes.
You can hold your thoughts with compassion and still show up for their grief. And then in your own private time, you can journal or you can maybe talk to someone else about
Yes.
this, right? In
Exactly.
terms of what you're feeling about it. Because
Exactly.
again, your feelings are valid and they matter. But in
Yes.
terms of the person that's grieving, to sort of share your opinions or your place in it,
Mhm.
it
Mhm.
negates, right, what the
Right.
holding space is for somebody who is grieving, right?
Right.
So yeah, like you don't have to pray to the same God, you don't have to follow the same path. You just need to be human. Sit beside someone in their pain and say, I'm here and I see how much this hurts, and this is a sacred space and I love you and I'm here
Yes.
for you and I'm very much here for you as a
Yes.
friend. So
Yes. Yes. And I'm so glad, that you were there for me because that day was, was after Easter being, Easter is a very big holiday for a lot of religions.
right.
And it's very big in Catholicism and in the Catholic religion.
Yeah.
Easter is everything. And that day, after being so sick and everything, I mean, he still went ahead and did that mass. And yes, he had so many priests and monsignors and cardinals and different people around him to help him speak and give his message, but
Yeah.
he was there and he
Yeah.
was present for the people. And I wanted to, that's why I did my video that same day on vulnerability,
Right.
because I wanted to show that, I wanted to create that space that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's
Hmm.
okay to show that side of yourself. You
Yeah.
don't have to be always like with something stuck up your butt. It's okay. It's okay to grieve.
Yes, for
And
sure.
it's okay to hold space for someone else, even though you may have had a rough time, you know, with that, like you just spoke of, with the Catholic Church. And
Mhm.
we know that this is a big trigger, but to be there for someone else just in that moment. And then you can go back to things and we can talk as a group together about what happened to you. But at that particular moment, let's try to give space, focus on the present moment,
Yeah.
not on what past hurts and past grievances and things that you have. Focus on the present moment. Holding space emphasizes being present in that moment.
Right.
It doesn't, like you said, Ange, we don't want to negate somebody else's feelings. We don't want to
Right.
negate that they are having a hard time. But when your friend is hurting and in need right then and there, it's okay for you to give them that,
Mm.
it doesn't
Yeah.
negate how you feel. We're not trying to say, well, you don't have a right not to feel this way, because no, nobody, no, everybody is entitled to their feelings and
Mhm.
their beliefs and everything. But when you love someone and you have a friendship, you don't want to just be standoffish. This when my mother passed, I have a cousin who, and this was a good story time, and I never got in. I think I talked about it maybe in one of my videos, but I had a cousin who she's from the Bronx, as am I, and we grew up together. She's older than me. I think she's either 1 or 2 years older than me. And her father and my mother were first cousins. And she and I were together as little kids, but she was a couple years older and she was a little bit more, street savvy and all of that in the Bronx
Mhm.
and everything. And she would come to St. Croix and visit with her dad, who's my Uncle Buddy, and they would do, my mom just loved him to pieces. And as time went on, we kind of lost touch. And I hadn't seen Robin, my cousin, since we were probably, maybe I was anywhere between 10 and 12, and she was like maybe 13 and 14 or around that age. She taught me how to ride a two-wheel bike, all of that. We used to do so, there's so many pictures of us together as little children and babies and that. When my mother went into the hospice, and this one night, one of the last nights that my mother was able to be verbal and everything with me, and my cousin Robin, um, who I didn't even know this was, because now we're in our 50s, and I'm never thinking that she's here in North Carolina. She's in the Bronx. My cousin Robin was my mother's nurse in that hospice.
Whoa.
Yes, she came in that night. My mother had an accident, and I pressed the button, and she came in. And she says, "I'm Robin. I'm Robin Carpenter." But I wasn't thinking my cousin's name is Robin Carpenter, but didn't that never dawned on me. She hadn't seen us in so long. She had the memory, and this was during COVID. So remember, everybody's wearing masks. I
Right.
did not have on a mask. My mother didn't have on one, but she did. So I could not see her face. And now we're in our 50s. We're not little teenage girls anymore. So our faces are different.
Of
We don't
course.
look like we did as kids. I still do. I
Yeah.
still do. So she she says that to me, and she's like, she saw my name on the board, but she didn't put two and two together. And she's like, "I don't know anybody else named Jewel. My aunt is named Jewel." And she's like, "But this couldn't be my aunt." And so that night, that all transpired. I was there by myself. Zoe was working, so she wasn't with me. And Zoe had never met Robin. We've had children and everything that we've never met,
Mhm.
because we had just lost touch of family and everything, because we were in the Virgin Islands, they were in New York, just things just happened. And the next day I went to I that was on my mind. That was on my mind all night. And I went back the next day, and one of the other nurses there, she says to me, "Oh, there's a nurse here, and she thinks," and I says, "She's my cousin." And that nurse was like, "How do you know that?" She said, "To tell you her father's name." And I said, "His name is Buddy." And she's like, "Oh my God, she's related to you." I'm like, "Yeah, that's my cousin." You know, how could that have happened in a million freaking years? Right?
Wow.
Right? I mean,
Wow.
I don't even know what made me get on to. Oh, I know what made me get onto this. I'm getting to the point. But Robin was there when mommy took her last breath. Robin was the one who bathed her and dressed her and did all of that.
Mm.
I wasn't there because Zoe had started a new job, and it was in June, and the first week of June, mom died on June 7th, 2021. It was like already 100 degrees here in Charlotte. It was so hot, and Zoe worked for a fast food chain, and they had to stand outside. And she was exhausted, sunburned, everything was going on, and I had to get her
Mhm.
home. We went to have dinner with mommy. We knew that she couldn't, she was no longer with us. Basically, she couldn't speak anymore. She was, just not there. She was just there in body only, still breathing. And we went. Mommy's favorite thing was hot dogs, so we went and got hot dogs, and we went there and we sat and we ate our hot dogs with mommy. And my cousin was there, and she says, "Well," I says, "I've got to get Zoe home." She says, "Don't worry, I'm going to be with mom." And she was there with mom when mom took her last breath. And I'm
Mhm.
like, I wish that I would have known that that was her when she came in the room that night, because Mommy was still a little coherent, not really, but to know that that was her niece there, I think would have just made some kind of difference. I don't know if it would have or not because
Right.
at that time she was really the dementia and the illness had really taken over. And but I said all that to get to the point where when we're grieving or somebody dies and people don't know how to say anything to you, they kind of distance themselves.
Mhm.
And I haven't seen Robin from that day to this day. And
Wow.
we live here together in North Carolina. She lives about an hour away from me. And it hurts me because I was so excited that I got my cousin back.
Yeah.
And she's like, when somebody close to me, and both her parents are gone now. And I think I talked to you about her, Ange, about my Aunt Gladys. And
Yes.
I was talking to you, this is Robin's mother.
Oh, because that's my grandma's name that just passed.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
And that's my
yeah.
grandmother's name too. So the synchronicities are just abound in this whole thing.
Yeah.
And so Robin, she's like, Lex, I'm sorry, but when somebody close to me passes, I don't know how to deal with that. And I don't know how to anything. And she's kind of just, I try to send her a message like on Mother's Day and those kind of days, but it's like I've lost her a second time, you
Mm.
know, and that's another thing of holding space. We
Yeah.
just have to hold space for people when they just don't know. They just don't know how to communicate with you. You can't take it personally.
Right.
And I never have taken anything personally by whatever anybody's beliefs or however. So many people in the loss of my mother have just scattered. Zoe and I don't have a lot of support. And my family, my New York family, I mean, I see them maybe, I mean, I don't see them online occasionally.
Mhm.
I have one cousin who he's older than me, about maybe 5 years older or 6 years older. And he called a couple of weeks ago and we were talking about the old days because he knows my mother and everything when my mother was a teenager, when he was born. And, I don't know that. He knows my grandmother. I don't know any of those things
Mhm.
because my grandmother was dead by the time, way before I was born, my mother's
Right.
mother. So he was telling me a few little stories and stuff, but I don't have anybody who really knows things because my mother and all her siblings are gone. And, my family is kind of dispersed. And I'm sure it's because, well, you know, Jewel's gone now, Jewel's dead. So we don't need, we don't, and this is how people's minds work. They just kind
Yep.
of kind of fade away into the sunset, so to speak, when grief comes along. And it's just really, I love that we're doing this because it's so grief, people handle grief in so many odd ways.
Yes. Yeah.
So many odd ways, so
Mhm.
many odd ways when they don't, I guess, you just don't know. Grief is not something that everybody's used to. You
No.
don't know grief until you lose your grandmother, or God forbid, a lot of us at a young age have maybe lost our parents, or
Mm.
things like that. You don't know, it's not like uh you know I don't know, it's hard to say. Grief is something that happens in a certain time in a certain space, and it's that
Right.
one time that brings everybody together, but just not for the right reason sometimes.
Exactly. They say, funerals and weddings,
Yes.
that's when it all
Right.
happens. And
Right.
grief is very personal. It's very personal.
Yes.
And I believe that, in the way that someone grieves, it's related to how death was presented in their childhood. Like were they meant, or excuse me, were they taught to fear it, or were they taught to embrace it? Or there's some cultures
Mhm,
who,
mhm.
you know, they're taught to sort of like, no, keep their spirit alive by, having
Yes.
altars for their ancestors and things of that
Yes.
nature, right? So I think it's cultural, it's personal. And also to kind of circle back to what you were saying about, you notice once your mother passed away, like
Mhm.
other people in the family just sort of like, that's it. That is
Yes.
so true, because there are certain people in the family lineage that is sort of like the last thread, and
Mhm,
once that
mhm.
thread is pulled, it kind of
Yes.
unravels everything else and everybody just
Yes.
disperses and goes their own ways, which
Yes.
is too bad. I remember specifically when my husband's grandmother, uh, we were having a conversation one day. She wasn't dying or anything. We're just having a conversation.
Mhm, mhm.
And, my husband said, well, grandma, once you're gone, like, I mean, like this family
Right.
is won't keep in touch. And she's like, "Don't say that. It's very important." And she's
Yes.
right. It is very
Yes,
important.
it is. It
But
is important.
there's something in these older generations that they were able to hold everybody together, to pull everybody together. And then
Yes.
I think, I don't know what it is, but once that's gone, it's sort of like, I don't know, we just all go our own ways, and it's nothing personal, it's just sort of like, I don't know, we just grow apart. I mean, maybe there
Yes.
are certain, family feuds or whatever that occur, but I'm more talking to, like you said, did you just sort of drift apart and like there's really no reason for it. But like you said, maybe some people don't know how to respond to the grief, so they just sort of like distance themselves, which
Yes.
sometimes can be more damaging than if you
It
just
can
would
be
say,
very damaging. Yeah, it's so
right,
unfortunate that that
yeah,
happens. So
yeah,
unfortunate because you should be
mhm,
trying to, you know, bridge that gap and come together. But instead, everybody's like, well, Aunt Jewel's not here anymore, so we don't need to talk to, you
right,
know,
right,
Lex and Zoe. And but why would you think that? We need you more now than ever,
right, right,
and it's such a strange thing. And so, Zoe and I have just been resigned to the fact that, these people are not in our lives anymore, and that's okay.
yeah,
We're making it, and that's okay, and we're making it too because of our new YouTube family. I mean,
right, yeah,
this is like the thing that has just blown my mind out of this whole thing of just making new
hmm,
friendships here, and the bestest friends that I've ever had in my life at 60, almost 61 years old. Like, who would have thought that this would happen?
right,
You know?
right. And at the
Yes.
end of the day, everybody in our lives, they have a choice if they want to be in our
Yes.
lives or not.
Yes.
And if they felt that the only reason that they were hanging on or pretending or whatever in the family unit was when someone was alive to sort of, I don't know, play the part. I don't really understand that, but
Right.
then that's on them. And there's a thing too in the family lineage where uh you can grieve someone that's still alive,
Yes.
because I mean,
Yes.
just as you said, right, there's certain people in your family that choose not to keep in touch with you. And
Yes.
as much as like you might have tried over the years and they just don't reciprocate it, it's like, okay, eventually you get tired of that one way street and you're just like, well, okay, if they want to talk, they know how to get a hold of me, they have all my
Yes.
information. And if they choose
Yes.
not to, well, you eventually have to grieve that and you have to be okay with that, because at the end of the day, we all have our own choices of uh who we want to make time for in life, put it that way.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly,
Yeah.
Ange.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter the distance of where you live, it doesn't matter. I mean,
No,
this
it
day and
doesn't.
age, we have all this technology and all this communication,
Right.
there's no
Look at
excuse.
us.
Yeah,
Look how
exactly.
far away we are from each other,
Yeah.
but we're here
Mm,
together.
right,
So,
right.
right, there are no excuses.
Mhm.
There aren't. But I guess you have to leave people where they are
That's
sometimes,
right,
or
exactly.
meet people where they're at. I
That's
guess
right.
would be the better term.
Exactly. Yep, yep,
Yes.
yep,
Yeah.
that's fair. Yeah. Yeah, so grief is, it's a it's a complex thing. It's
It
not just like
is.
a black and white thing, and it is very, like I said, it's very personal. It's going to look different for everybody. But I think if we just sort of try not to overthink all of that, because it is complex, if we just focus back to center and know that grief is universal, we grieve, elephants
Yes.
grieve, whatever.
Yes.
It's that
Yes.
if we can meet in that commonality of like, okay, it hurts. Okay, there's no other way around that.
No.
And
No.
just be present. And again, I can't emphasize this enough. If you know someone that's grieving, just ask them, "What can I do for you?" They'll tell
Yes.
you. They'll tell you.
Yes.
You know, like if
Yes.
somebody has just lost somebody, the last thing they probably want to do is prepare a meal. Maybe you can send a pizza to their house.
Yes.
Something, anything. That's just one
Anything.
example.
Yes,
Right.
anything. And
Hmm.
that's something that Zoe and I said. And I'm like, I of course when mommy died, that was a big chunk of us because we were three generations here together.
Yes.
And especially financially, that was a very big piece of the puzzle that was is now gone.
Hmm.
And you know, nobody was holding space for us in that way. I don't expect anybody to take care of us. We're grown ass people.
Right.
But sometimes you need help.
Yes.
And Zoe and I have vowed that, once we are on our feet and we are able to, those are the things that we want to do. We know how it is. We know how it is to be grieving, to lose something
Mm,
and someone,
mm.
and to not have that support.
Yeah.
And we don't ever want anybody attached to us to ever go through that or feel that. I
Mhm.
would never want that. And the people online who are so cruel, they're so cruel. Like if I
Mm,
was posting on Facebook or doing something, and I've had to block so many people, or the people like you said, and who are like, "Well, just get over it. She's in a better place, so you need to get over it." And I will
mm,
never get over it. I
mm-mm.
will never get over it until the day I die,
Right.
because that was somebody who was important in my life. That was my ride or die chick. I will never
Of
get
course.
over it, never. And
No.
that we could say that to somebody is just deplorable to me. I would never tell somebody to get over their feelings, their grief, or any
No.
whatever it is. I
No.
would never tell somebody that. But
No.
people just don't. They don't get it, and a lot of times people don't get it until it happens to them.
Right. Exactly. Right.
You don't get it till it happens to you.
Exactly. And grief is not something that you get over. It's not something,
No.
it's not even something I would say that you work through. Although, yes,
Mhm,
I would
mhm.
definitely, I, I want to say stages of grief. And yes, there's stages of grief. But anytime I say that, I always want to make sure I say it's not linear. It's not like, okay, stage
No,
one, stage two, stage three.
exactly.
No,
It's
no, no,
not
no, no,
like
no.
that. You
No.
deal with it as it comes.
It's right. And it's like, it's waves and it
Yes.
comes and it goes.
Yes. It
And
ebbs and flows.
right. And
Yes.
that is, like you said, for the rest of time, because
Yes.
like what do you always say? Grief is
Love
uh,
without someplace to go.
yes, grief is love without
Yes.
someplace to go. And that
Yes.
grief is something that you learn to walk with for the rest of your time. It's not
Yes.
something that you learn to get over because that's not a
No.
thing. It's not a thing.
Right. Right.
Um yeah, if you've loved someone that deeply in life, they're
Yes.
with you always in that
Always,
way.
always,
Um
yes. And there are always going to be triggers. Right now,
mm,
I'm to the point where, like I've been saying here on this platform, when I went to that moon magic ceremony with you and Elizabeth,
mm,
uh, and I gave up that guilt that I had over the death of my mom. That's
mm,
really saved my life.
mm,
And I don't have that feeling anymore of dread and guilt because my mother's not here. I couldn't save her.
right,
But at 89 years old, with a heart that only was beating at 15%, I could not have saved her. I could not have done anything to save her. And it was not, and I didn't know that that was going to happen. I
right,
didn't know, but in my mind, I'm like, well, I should have known, and I could have saved her, and she could have got a heart murk, she could have got a pacemaker, she could have, and it's like, Lex, you're not a doctor, honey. You couldn't, there's nothing you could have done.
right.
There's nothing you could have done. And once I release that, I feel right now like, ooh, just the weight that's so light. I feel like that feather that fell out
That's
there.
right, exactly.
I feel like that feather. There she is.
Let me tell you, this feather, while we've been live, there's no fans running, there's no nothing. And at one point, it just kind of like flew up a little bit, and it almost went into my candle. That's I was like, oh no, don't burn. What? So this feather, I'm telling you, there's something about it.
Right.
I think I'm just
Maybe
gonna mail it to you. Here, this is your feather.
yes, yes,
Yeah, I'm going to actually. Um,
yes.
I was gonna say something about that. Grief, grief, grief. Do, 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 do. Well, one thing I wanted to share with you is I actually have a deck. It's called Holding Space. And
Love it.
yeah, so this here is actually by somebody by the name of Heather Plett, Plett. And actually Heather Plett years and years and years ago, I want to say at least 15 years, maybe more ago, she is how I learned what holding space was.
Wow.
So
Yes.
she goes through talking about the death of her mother and how and what
Yes.
that looked like. And I highly encourage people to reach out and read her book and follow her website. Now she has courses on it. Not that you have to learn,
Yes.
but I mean it's anyway, you'll see. She's got
Yes.
different things for
Yes.
holding space, and it might not be for everybody, but at least if you go on her thing and people want to learn, like, what is all this holding space about? She's a really
Right.
good
Yes,
person to do
because
that
so
with.
many people don't know what that means.
No, right.
They don't know what holding space means for someone.
Yeah, and we hear it like all the time now, and we're
We
like, what does that
do.
mean?
Yes,
Um,
we do.
One of the cards in here that I thought was really beautiful and fitting, and I wanted to share it with you, Lexi, is trust the mystery. What if you lean into whatever's holding you?
Oh, I love that.
So it's kind of like this labyrinth, and I'll read what it says. It
Yes.
says, I am intentionally not going to try to define this mystery for you. Your version of the mystery might be different from mine. It's something meant to be just outside our human reach and understanding. When we hold space, we do so in a way that invites mystery into the process. That means that you, as the space holder, open yourself to the spiritual, and you take cues from the source far larger than you, which I feel is what I did on Monday.
You did.
Um, and it means that you trust the person for whom you are holding space to also be held by the same source. And I thought,
Yes.
whoa, that's
Yes.
perfect.
Yes. I love that. I love that.
Yeah. So,
Yes. Yes.
um, and I'll be honest with you, I forgot I had this deck. Of course I did. But I was there's two other decks that I pulled for today because I do want to pull you cards if you don't mind, from the Saints and Angels from
Oh,
Doreen
I love
Virtue,
it. I would love
and
that.
also one from the Spirit Messages from John Holland as
Oh, I
well.
love that.
So when I was selecting those decks, I was kind of looking for another one. I couldn't really find it, and I looked up and it said holding space, and it kind of like I'm like,
Yes,
oh,
right. Like smacked you right in the face, right?
we should probably look at this one then.
Yes.
And good lord.
Ah,
Um but
that
I
was divine timing showing that to
yes.
you right there.
Yes. So I love my old school Doreen Virtue decks. Now, this is uh kind of ironic, I would say, to talk about this on this live because Doreen Virtue, she was a well-renowned author on for Hay House, and she specifically created angel decks, okay, and angel
Oh,
books, okay, for many
yes.
many years, and she was one of their originals. And I mean, I'm talking like very successful, very successful. However, one day she decided that this wasn't for her, and she denounced everything New Age, and she
Yes.
decided that Jesus, was the way to go. And you know what?
Yes.
I
Right.
there's
Yes.
no shame in that,
No,
right?
not at all.
However, and I think it ties kind of nicely into this conversation we're having is that, you know, we don't have to sort of believe what someone else believes to sort of respect what
Absolutely
they
not.
believe. And
Right. Absolutely not.
right.
Yeah, and
And
that's
what
all a part of holding space.
yes, exactly. And what
Yes.
happened with Doreen Virtue though, and this is what was very hurtful, is there was a lot of people, myself included, that was a complete follower. And I don't mean like, we really looked up to her. She was very I thought she was very magical in her own way. I saw her live, actually, in person. And so
Wow.
when I tell you I could feel her energy, I'm a very good judge of character when it comes to judging people's energy. Like,
Yes.
I knew
Yes.
she was angelic. She really was. She used to make these videos all the time, and she, again, all these card decks. I'm about to pull a card from here. But anyway, my point though is that when she denounced her sort of this new age stuff, she went completely the opposite, saying you need to burn all those decks, and that's the devil's work,
Oh,
and da 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 da.
no.
And I mean, it was very hurtful to us in the community because we were like, whoa, like, listen, if you decide you would like to go a different way, that's okay. Just go your other way. But why do you have to hurt the people that are still, believe in what we believe in, and certainly have purchased her work over the years? And this is how you treat your people who have been very faithful to
Yes,
you,
who
right?
have been
So
yes,
yeah.
yes. Well,
So I'm
her beliefs, I guess, changed.
right,
But like
right.
what we were just speaking about, um, yeah.
Mm, yeah.
I
It just
feel like that should have been just she did all of these things because at one time this is what she aligned herself with.
Right.
So
Right.
to go the direct total 180 or
Yeah.
360
Yeah.
rather,
Right.
you're
Right.
right, and say burn it and this and it's the devil, I think that's, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's extreme and it's hurtful.
It's
And
so
again,
extreme and hurtful. It really is because,
yeah.
so like you said, you people are worshiping this woman. People love her and align with her and what she's doing, and yeah, that's the unfortunate piece about that for me. It's a little unfortunate,
Mhm.
but I mean, her works will live on.
Yes.
Her works
Yes.
will live on.
And I will say I have every one of her decks, every one of her original decks, and I will never give them up and I still use them. And I
Yes,
don't feel any
yes,
kind of way about it because, again, what it comes down to a deck of cards, like we put our energy into it and we pull
yes,
energy that we want to. So
yes.
there's no weirdness there for me. But
No,
and
right.
right from the day, even when I know that she was being hurtful, I didn't send any hurtful energy her way. I wish her well. I still wish her well.
Yes,
you know, it's just that I wish that maybe I was shocked actually of the lack of compassion she had for
yes,
the people that have
yes.
supported her work for
Her over the
years.
years,
So
right.
yeah, that was hurtful
Right.
for sure.
And
But
especially people that spent their hard-earned money and everything to support her and buy her decks and her
yeah.
books and go to her seminars and things like that. That's very hurtful. But I
Mm.
mean, I guess that, for her, guess that was the only way she could deal with it, I guess. I
Woo!
don't know, Ange.
I had two cards pop up for you. One is forgiveness, Saint Mary Magdalene,
Oh, yes.
and the other one is peaceful Holy Spirit. So how perfect for today.
Yes, I love them. I love both. I love Mary
Yes.
Magdalene. I love Mary Magdalene.
So let me see what this book says here, because I'm sure there's something to say about Mary Magdalene here. I do too, yeah. The answer to your question involved, well, we didn't ask a question, but letting go of resentment, judgment, anger. Da, da, da. Hang on. Here, you're preparing for a wonderful new chapter of your life, and forgiveness is part of your preparation. It's a
Mhm.
refreshing and deeply healing shower of love that cleanses you from inside out, and that gives you the energy, stamina, and high self esteem, and it frees you to be yourself. So call upon Mary Magdalene to help you forgive or to be forgiven so that you can move on with your life and in your dreams. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a good one. That's a deep one.
That is a deep one. I love that.
And peaceful says, okay, rest assured that the Holy Spirit's peace is pervading the situation and opening your hearts of everyone involved. It brings about compassion so that everyone can see each other's point of view. How perfect for this live stream, right? Um,
Yes.
this engenders forgiveness, which then opens and smooths the path to peacefulness, allowing the Holy Spirit to melt away the ice of anger and fear by shining a warm beam of divine love upon you and the situation. Trust that this can reach deep into everyone's being, evoking a positive change of heart for you and others. As gentle and pure as a dove, the Holy Spirit heals the situation in all the harmonious ways.
I love it. And
Oh,
both of those cards tie together, both
they
forgiveness.
do. They
Yes.
do.
Yes. I love
Wow.
that. I
And
love
those are
that.
the backs of the cards. They're pretty
Oh,
beautiful.
beautiful.
Yeah.
My Catholic heart loves those.
Right? Exactly. I think that's the thing, right? And so like I said,
Yes.
there's still these threads that I take away from my Catholic upbringing,
Yes.
and a
Yes.
lot of her work aligned with me in that way because there's
Right.
still like those threads that I followed, right? So
Yes.
I agree
Yes.
with that. Yes.
Yeah, I love that. I still do my rosary and I still do my things, but
Yes.
I am aligned with the tarot and the oracle and all that. But I still have things that I've done. I've done them since a child. It's not going to stop.
Right.
Just because I feel like there's room for everything.
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
like you said, there's nothing that's just linear. There's room
No.
for it all. For us to do everything that we love and everything that aligns with it and things that bring us joy. And both of these things bring me joy. Doing the
Yes.
rosary and my prayers every day that I do every day bring me joy.
It's your
And
truth.
doing that.
It's
Yes.
your truth, and
Yes.
I always say your practice is what you say it is. It's not what anyone else is
Yes.
gonna tell you what it is, right? And
Exactly.
it's personal, and so
Yes.
mhm.
Yes.
I would
So
like to pull you
awesome.
as well a card from this Spirit Messages deck.
Okay.
And oh my gosh, I did not even know these were the backs. Lexi, look at the backs. Ready?
Ah! It's butterflies! And if
Wow.
nobody knows here, butterflies represent my mommy, my mommy
Yes.
Jewel.
So she must have picked this deck then.
She must
Okay.
have.
Cool. Okay, let's see. Here we go. Oh, shock.
What is it?
What? Oh my god, I'm gonna cry. Hang on a second.
Oh,
Whoa. Hello from heaven.
oh my God. That looks like my mom.
Hello from heaven. Your loved ones in the spirit world want to connect with you as much as you want to connect with them. They know that you're thinking of them and they're sending you signs and symbols to show you how much they love you and to prove that you are with them at this time. Holy crap. And look at she's even got the butterfly. She's
She
got the butterfly on
does.
her shoulder and the white feather is here. Stop. Look.
Oh my God. Yes.
Dragonfly.
Oh my God.
You can't make this up.
You cannot. And that's what I said in my video that I posted today. The cards don't lie. They never lie. They
Ooh.
never lie.
Oh my
Yes, they never
goodness.
do. They
Uh,
never do. Oh, that's so
Oh
beautiful.
my gosh, Lexi. Let me see if they say anything in the book here. Okay, let's see. Do This card comes forth now because you may be thinking of someone you're missing. So this serves as a validation that he or she is still with you. And I love that because here we're talking about the Pope and we're talking about your mom and
Yes. Yes.
when a loved one passes and leaves this physical world, the familiar methods of ordinary communication get interrupted for a time until a new form of communication is established.
Yes.
Spirit people are trying to get your attention through special signs and symbols, and this is their new way of connecting with you. Trust that it's really your loved one's presence that you're feeling. Acknowledge when they visit you in your dreams or when they send a specific scent that reminds you of them. Another way of them to let you know is they're around is blinking lights, a TV turning on and off, shiny pennies and dimes suddenly appearing, or even cell phones ringing with their name being displayed. These are just some of the many signs and symbols. So put a loving thought out to them and let them know that you're ready to receive more than that. They've got your attention. Be thankful for these signs and symbols. Cherish and hold them close to your heart, for they truly are hellos from heaven. Oh
Oh my
wow!
gosh.
Whoa!
I don't know if I shared that with you. Did I share it in a video? I shared it with someone. I think I put it in a video when I told you I smelled perfume.
Yes, I think it was one of your videos.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I in my room just all of a sudden I smelled perfume as my mom.
Oh wow! There
Yeah, and
you
I'm like,
go, and it just showed
yeah,
up again here. Like
yes, yes.
I mean,
Wow.
what? Like you anyway. Like, we just had the conversation the other day. I'm a
Yeah.
seasoned reader, I've been reading for years, and I still get, like, in shock of the
Yes.
cards. I'm, like,
Yes.
in awe, like, "What?" Oh,
Yes.
I mean, look at
Yes.
how many other cards could have came out?
Yes.
Like, oh my
Yes.
goodness. Oh
Woo.
gosh.
Wow.
Okay, well, I didn't mean to make you cry,
That's okay.
but we knew it would happen.
Yeah. Oh, that's okay. I wanted to
Um,
show everybody too my shirt that I found
yes.
when Pope Francis came here to the United States, and he came on his Love is Our Mission tour, and it was the Papal Visit, United States of America 2015. So
Oh,
this is 10 years old, this shirt. I didn't know that until today. And this shirt, it fits me now. It's big on me. But when I first got this shirt, it wouldn't even go over my head. I couldn't put it on because I was over 300 pounds. I couldn't wear this shirt. And now
right.
I can. And how I propose
Wow.
that I found this shirt. I prayed to Saint Anthony, and in my video, I'm like, I have this shirt and I don't know where it is and I need to find it. And just out of nowhere, and the other day, I was going through trying to separate my winter things. As you and I have talked about me, and I've talked about on the videos about the decluttering that Zoe and I are trying to do. And
Yeah.
I don't have a dresser in my room. So I have all these big, like, hamper baskets that have all my clothes in it. Like, one has maybe all my underwear and my pajamas, and one has all my shirts and leggings, and one has my jeans, and one has my sweatshirts and hoodies, and then one has all my sheets and things in it that I need in my room, because the linen closet, is so tiny and I can't fit a lot of stuff in it. And so all my extra pillows, sheets, and everything are in a thing in my room. So when I need to go make up my bed, I go wash something, I fold it up, I put it in there, and
Yeah.
then and do all that. And I just happened to be going through everything. And the last one of the things that I pulled out was this shirt. And
Whoa.
and that's the power of prayer too. And that's one of
Yeah.
my saints, which is my mother's favorite patron saint, was Saint Anthony. And Saint
Mhm.
Anthony is the finder of
I
things.
was gonna say, as a kid, we always prayed to
Yes.
Saint Anthony to find
Yes.
things. Yes, yeah,
Yes. And I did. I
yeah,
asked him, and I always ask divine spirit, help me find this or help me do this. And it always happens. It
yeah.
always happens. So on that note, I want to say our divine prayer. I know we still got a few things to talk about, but I didn't get to open with it.
Oh,
So
yeah, that's right,
I want
Lexi.
to do our divine prayer that I learned from Sonia Choquette.
Yes.
And it's just an amazing prayer. And I love it so much. And I like to share it with everybody here. And that this prayer is Divine Spirit within me, move me in the direction of my highest good this day. Move my mind, move my words, move my body, move my emotions so that I am able to be my best, do my best, serve my best,
Mhm.
and experience the best day ever. And I just love this prayer. And when I started saying this prayer a few weeks ago now, the abundance just kept coming in from this prayer. And
Mhm.
Sonia Choquette was saying that when she everybody around her always says, "Oh, you're so lucky because you have things, you live in Paris now, you this, you that." And she's like, "Well, I guess I am lucky." And for me, I don't believe in luck, I believe in blessings.
Yes, exactly.
And so I know that I am very blessed. And I saying this prayer, so many things have come into Zoe and I after saying this prayer that I was never expecting. And whenever my hands itch, the palms of my hands itch, I know that something is coming. And these
Mhm.
last couple of days, the palms of my hands have been itching. So I know that things are coming. Zoe has something that she's trying to do and get. She got notified of something from when her father passed away. We didn't think he had anything, nothing. But then she got notified that he had a life insurance policy. We never thought that he did. So that's probably something coming for her. So the abundance is coming in, and that's why we want to get all this stuff out. And I just,
Mhm.
I know that Saint Anthony and Pope Francis and all the angels and saints and spirit and guides and everybody, they're up there. They're here. They're buzzing around, and they're always involved. They're
Yes.
always involved in everything that we do, whether you believe in it or not.
Right.
There's a higher power there, and that they're here to help us, and they're
Mhm.
buzzing around doing things just don't happen just because.
Right. Yeah,
you
exactly.
know
Yep.
right, right. And I thought that was appropriate for today.
I love
And
that. Yeah.
yeah, yes, yeah. So I love this conversation today, I really do.
Yes, I
I really
know.
do.
I think it's an important one. I think that, maybe some people don't know how to have the conversation again, they don't know how to approach people who are grieving in terms of
Yes.
that, or especially when they can't understand the grief. But, down in the description box, I know that Lexi had typed this, but I wrote it down because it was so good. It says, this isn't about theology, it's about presence. This isn't
Yes.
about love, or excuse me, it is. It is about love
Yes.
that doesn't require agreement. It's about choosing compassion over certainty.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it says,
Mhm.
grief is universal, even when our faiths, paths, or stories are not. I love that.
Yes.
And let's talk about what it really means to support someone beyond belief. And it talks
Yes.
about friendship and faith. And I thought, oh, that's perfect. So,
Yes. So perfect. So perfect because we all come from so many different walks of life,
right.
but we can still hold this space for each other no matter what. No matter what we believe in, and if we are religious or not, spiritual or not, go to church or not, it doesn't matter.
No,
That
no.
none of that matters.
Right. Even
You
if you're an
know.
atheist, you can still hold space
Yes.
for somebody that
You
is,
still can.
religious.
Yes. And especially if you have that empathy, you
Hmm.
still can. That has nothing to do with the price of tea in China, as I like to
No,
say.
no, no. Exactly.
Ah,
Um,
So yes, yes, I have enjoyed this, and I hope that
Mhm.
everybody watching who comes on the replay or who's been in here and popped in and out, resonate something resonated with
Yeah,
them from this conversation.
I
And
hope so too.
I know that you and I will be doing so many more
Yes,
conversations,
we will.
about different things, about different
Mhm.
things. And I love that we popped off on this conversation, especially this grief conversation, because
Mhm.
um, that's a special thing. And everybody's not, so many people have fear and everything. And you already know because we talked about it. And I talked about it in the video that I don't have any fear over that.
Mhm.
I'm not afraid to die. And I'm not afraid of, any of that.
Yeah,
I'm not afraid of that because uh we're all going there.
that's right. It's natural
We're
cycle of life.
all
That's
going. We
right.
don't know
Yeah.
when, but we're going.
Mhm. Mhm.
Hopefully later. Way later.
Yes,
Later.
that's
Way
right.
later. Later. We
Mhm.
got things to do here first.
As they say, it's not the length of the life we live, it's the life that we've lived in between, you know? You
Yes.
know how when you look at a tombstone and you see that little hyphen in between, like from
Yes.
19 whatever to 2000 or whatever,
Yes.
it's the hyphen that counts.
It is the
What did
hyphen
you
that
do in
counts.
between there?
Yes.
Mhm.
What did you do? Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes. And that, we have all met each other here and just become the best of friends here and everything. That's a big part of that little hyphen in the middle. That's a big
absolutely.
part. That's a big part.
Yes, the people that come
Yes.
into our lives, and,
Yes.
it's never too late in life to develop new relationships and friendships and
No, it's not.
people
It's
that you
not.
consider family, so
Yes, indeed,
mhm.
indeed. Yeah, because I know I did a video a while back when I first started, and it was a friendship, and it's like, well, at 60 years old, I'm not going to make any new friends or whatever. Like,
Mhm.
Spirit and God said,
Yeah, you
you
funny.
think? They're like, you think?
Aw, I
Ah, so yes, I have made all my new besties here,
mhm,
and so yeah, and I'm so like happy that this platform is here. I loaded this video today, this on my Facebook page, and because nobody there, they're not here for me. They're not here for me. They don't come. They don't come. They don't. Uh, Come over to YouTube. They don't support me at all. So
mm.
it'll be interesting to see. I see so many people popping in and out, and I wonder if any of these are my Facebook friends, so to speak. And will they even come back and leave a comment? Probably not, because these are the lurkers. The
Yeah,
lurkers.
yeah,
But I just wanted to share this message because I just thought it was so important on Monday, just to say that look at all the work that Pope Francis has done, and that he took that last day. He didn't know that was his last day because we don't know, but that God said, "You know what, my son, you've done this work. You've worked hard, and it's time for you to rest." And he let him have that whole the people, Ange, that were there
oh, yeah,
at the Vatican, in Rome on Easter Sunday. That pilgrimage was just it was just out of this world. And
mhm.
he was going around his little Pope mobile, and they lifted up the baby and he touched the baby, and then they were giving things and they put it in the Pope mobile. And those people can say that they saw him for his last time, and how special that was.
Mhm,
And I just had to give space to. I'm glad that you decided for us to hold this space together, but I
mhm,
also wanted to
yeah,
hold this space for him because he was a special human being
yep,
and a special person, and
mhm.
meant a lot to me. So yeah.
Yes. Oh, well,
Yes.
Lexi, thank you so much for inviting me, for
Yes, yes,
allowing
thank
me
you.
into your life and into yeah, just your friendship means the world to me. I'm always here for you. And I hope
Yes.
that, with this video that we're creating here, that, it just gives people something to think about, maybe to pause and think, the next time that somebody is going through grief, just maybe how they can best support
Yes.
the people around them that are going through.
Yes, yes. I
Mhm.
mean, and it doesn't take anything. Just hold the space.
Yeah.
Hold space. And that's all you have to do. Just be present in that moment. That's it. You don't have
Mhm.
to say anything at all. You don't have to say anything special, but be there for your
Mm.
person. Be there for that person. Show them that you're there. Have compassion, have some empathy, and just be there to hold space with them. They
Mhm.
will tell you what they need.
Yes.
They will tell you
Yeah.
what they need. So,
That's
on
right.
that note, I wanted us to do the Our Father prayer as our closing
Yes. Yes, yes,
for
yes.
today. So,
Okay.
let's do that.
All right.
Okay, ready?
Yes.
Our
Our
Father,
Father,
who art
who
in
art in
heaven,
heaven,
hallowed
hallowed
be
be
thy
thy
name.
name.
Thy
Thy
kingdom
kingdom
come,
come,
thy will
thy
be
will be
done
done
on
on
earth
earth
as it
as
is
it
in
is in
heaven.
heaven.
Give us
Give
this
us this
day
day
our
our
daily
daily
bread,
bread,
and
and
forgive us
forgive us
our
our
trespasses,
trespasses,
as we
as we
forgive
forgive
those who
those who
trespass
trespass
against
against
us.
us.
And lead
And
us
lead us
not
not
into
into
temptation,
temptation,
but
but
deliver us
deliver us
from
from
evil.
evil.
Yes. And for thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever
Amen.
and ever. Amen.
Amen.
So on that note,
Mhm.
you know,
Yes.
I thank you. Thank you so much, Ange, for holding space for me, my
Always.
sister.
Always, always, my friend. Yes.
Yes, yes. And I hope that you all enjoyed this live. And please, as soon as this live goes public, please come back and put your comments because we'd love to see them,
Yes.
and how you feel about this topic about holding space for people who are different than you, who are grieving than you. Are you somebody that can do that?
Right.
And just anything you want to say, anything you want to say at all, put it down in the comments, and we will be there for you.
Mhm.
We will.
Absolutely.
We will. So I will see you, my sister, on the other side.
Okay.
And I have to say thank you to Ma'am for being quiet and taking a nap while we were doing this live
Aw.
in a new location, not in my studio, in
Right.
Ma'am's studio.
That's right.
But thank you. I love you
Mhm.
so
I
much.
love you too.
And I love everybody here. I love you plenty. And until
Yes.
next time, you'll be seeing me and Angie again
Yep,
with
that's
some
right.
other cool topics.
That's right.
Yes. So we end it now, people. Bye,
Bye.
everyone. Thank you for coming.